Okay guys, I'm going to try to do an update video. I'm a little chilly. I am Mama Bear to many. If you have not been here before, welcome. Well, you've probably not been here before because I'm actually at the Cape House. So, little back story is I am mom to 15 children, which is hard to say. It's just kind of weird because it's like I have 12 children that still are at home, one baby in the NICU, one son who is married, and then one son who went to be with the Lord. So that's our family dynamics. I am at the Cape House because the other day I felt like I was, I don't know, I had pizza and I had a pizza like a bunch of times. So we've been buying things at this, oh my goodness, I can talk. I've been at the hospital since his birth, which was on the 23rd of September. It is now the 13th. It is the 13th of October, so I had been there the whole time at the hospital. And so actually I had been there since the 22nd. Yes, I had been there since the 22nd because I was there since the night before. Anyway, I've just been eating hospital food, and most of that has been stuff that comes into the family lounge, and what else? And then stuff that's downstairs. So there's a Panera, which we just found, and then cafeteria food. So we've eaten a lot of pizza and sandwiches. I've been there, my husband's been there off and on. And then the other night I had pizza and my stomach was just so heavy and I couldn't tell if I was gonna get sick or be sick or whatever. And my son's in the NICU. I don't need to give him anything. I don't need him to have anything wrong with him. I'm gonna try and set you here. Is this gonna work? Maybe. Kind of odd. I had to kind of tip you guys up a little bit. Anyway, so that's where we're at. I know, I'm kind of spaced out because, yeah, I came here. So my husband came, let's see, because everything was going on, he came at 4 o'clock in the morning. He left, and then so we left at 6 and then came here, and then he had to go bring kids back. So we are going to do an overview on what's been going on with Azariah, which is my baby in the NICU, and just kind of where we're at family-wise, what we're thinking, all the things. So let's see. I'm trying to reverse in my head to remember exactly where I left you guys off. I think we were trying to get, there's been so much that has happened. There's been so much that's happened, including another child having to go to the ER, which is just crazy. So I'm not going to get dates right. Basically, at some point days ago, in the morning rounds, every morning they come around and they tell you what's going on and what the plan is for the day and yada yada yada. You have to understand, my son does not just have one condition. The condition that he has multiple things that are going on in his little body. So each day we're addressing each of those things in the best way possible. Some days one thing might look completely stable in the position that it's at, and then the next day it could be complete upheaval. It's just kind of a journey. It's a journey. So people that I know that have children with this condition, that their children actually survived through infancy, they said that all of them said that in the early days they had to have their child on full code and just fight for their child to get everything in order to get them over the hump, because usually the first little bit can be quite challenging. So there's like so much that is going on, but a lot of it's like medically type terms and whatever, so I don't know how much. I'll just kind of give like the overview, I guess, or as best that I can give. So basically his lung function okay, so let me try to start at the beginning. He has a diaphragmatic eventration. So your diaphragm should be like this, separating your chest from your stomach. Well, my son's is like this. So this side of his diaphragm was pushed up. So his liver actually like is pushed up like this into this, in like over almost on top of where like the lungs would be, because when you're in utero, your lungs don't need to fully inflate because they're just like processing amniotic fluid. They can do practice breathing, but they don't like actually hit the air and have to breathe. So upon his delivery, he did absolutely wonderful. His numbers were excellent all throughout labor and delivery. He was amazing. He didn't dip. There was no like emergency, you got to push him out right now, anything like that. Or there was no cause for even considering a C-section. The only thing that did happen is he was head down and then decided that he was going to be transverse in the middle of labor. So they pushed him back down and then they strapped my belly like this and kept him down, and he kept down. So yeah, there was nothing as far as like labor and delivery goes besides being a really long labor. It was a fairly normal labor, although it was nice because I actually had an epidural just in case things went wrong, and it was kind of nice to have that epidural. I'm gonna be honest with you. Went to go check on somebody. So yes, everything was fairly normal in that. But as soon as he was born, his lungs collapsed. And so because his lungs collapsed, we had already said that we wanted full like resuscitation or whatever. And so they did full resuscitation, and they tried to put him on, I think, just like a CPAP. I'm not quite sure because I wasn't there in the first hours, so I can't tell you exactly what they had him on. By the time I saw him hours later, he was on full vent, and that is where he is now. Now, good things as far as that goes is he has been from full vent to a jet vent, which is like, it kind of like like that, like it kind of like makes like more pulsations rather than like just the fluid. And they did that because the lungs, especially that one lung, was staying collapsed and didn't want to like expand back out. So instead of just like the steady air trying to like blow it open, it kind of like was doing this, and it allowed the lung to come back out. So wonderful. That has been absolutely wonderful as far as those things go. We already know that he has a VSD. He also has another heart condition where the outflow and the inflow kind of cross together. So he is now on a diuretic, which is trying to keep like that at a better contained level, because they're trying to keep the levels right. So they're basically trying to balance that with a diuretic. He also has some edema throughout his body. Since he's been born, he developed a brain bleed, which is fairly common in like early gestation babies, but a lot of times trisomy babies act like they're a lot, like as far as like developing signs, they act like they are a lot younger than they are. So it's not completely it's not like completely odd for that to happen. A lot of times, a lot of it's kind of difficult because most people who have a trisomy baby don't want to try to fight for their life. So there's not a lot known out there. And that can be kind of challenging, especially in the setting that we're in, because there are doctors. We're at a wonderful hospital, but sometimes like the doctors, so there's like an attending, and there's an intern, and there's a fellow, and then there's like specialists all over the place. His specialists are between Brigham and Women's and Children's. A lot of his specialists are actually at Children's. So they come over, depending on how things are, they might come over on a daily basis. They might come over every few days, and we talk to anything that has a potential of surgery. Then I would talk to a surgeon from Children's. A few days back, it was decided that it probably would be best for him to go over to Children's for numerous reasons. The main one at that time was that they had Boston Children's had come over and done a bedside central line into him. And within 2 days, one of the two feeds was not working. So they've been monitoring that. There's a clot in one of the lines going down. So they have been monitoring that. And there was thought right away that let's put another one in. And the surgeon came over and said, yeah, let's not. It's probably not best for the baby, at least at this point, unless it becomes an emergency situation. That he didn't want to take that risk, and he would not do it bedside. He would do it over in surgery at Children's. So there's just a bunch of things that we felt that, including his team at Brigham's, felt that it would be like the best case scenario for him to have a bed over at Children's. So he is on a waiting list for a bed over at Children's, which brings up a lot of because if any of you know my story with my son who passed away, we were waiting on a bed for a long time, and we got a bed too late, and my son died. So that brings up a lot of emotional, but at the same time, like, I do feel good where he's at, because like all his doctors do come over, and the only real benefit would be is that like there would be surgery right there. The whole thing is like they could bring him over for a surgery and then bring him back to Brigham's. But we just don't know like how strong he is, if he'd be able to go there, have a surgery, and come back, because he's just little and he has all these complex things going on. So I've noticed a lot of people have said, oh, do you know when he's coming home? I don't even make a plan for that. In my mind, I would love to see the day when he comes home, but as far as like making a time frame, I'd probably say months. We're actually looking, my husband looked, and this will answer some other questions. My husband has 6 weeks paternity leave, paid paternity leave. After that, he will be going back to work. No, we're not expecting somebody to take care of everything for us, like some people like to say. He will be going back to work, and his HR actually said that he could work the lower part of our state, which would make him only an hour and a half from Boston. So that if he wanted to, he could take that position. And so that is just amazing that he has like a company and HR that would actually like do that for him. To me, is just a beautiful thing. I've said before, I think that I really like the company he works for, and I really do. I just really feel like they're very family oriented. And let me think. So that's the bigger goal, would be like if he would need to go back November, I don't know, first week in November, I think, maybe second. I can't remember. I have it written on my calendar. So he would need to go back. Since then, I've also had somebody reach out to me and say that they could do a month-by-month rental. It's an unfurnished place. in Manchester, New Hampshire, which is about an hour from the hospital, so that they could do a month-by-month rental for us there. And so at a fairly good price. And it would include some utilities and that type of stuff. So yeah, I think that's really a blessing. So I guess that's tentatively like would be our plan, is to have my husband work down there and have the house in New Hampshire. And then from New Hampshire to Maine is an hour and 5, I think it is. So from his like work city in Maine to the house that we'd be renting in Manchester would be about the same distance that he travels right now from our home to his current work situation. So it's not that big of a deal. As long as they're okay with it, we're okay with it. And then, so for that house to here, it would be another hour. So, or would be an hour. So I'd be able to be more interactive with the kids and stuff. I'll be right back. Okay, I had to go help. I had a daughter in the bath and she was having trouble. She needed to get dressed and was having trouble getting dressed because she was tired. And yeah, life. I'm here at the Cape House with sick kids. So there was a point, I can't remember my days. I can't keep things straight, honestly. There was a day that during rounds, one of the people there said that they thought that my son declared himself. I knew what that meant. I think probably most of you know what that means. And I basically gave my thoughts. I think that's probably why I haven't been on to update, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to share that information or not. I'm deciding to share it for anyone who has a trisomy baby and is going through this. There's not a lot of like day-to-day in and out stuff that is recorded or is taken note of or anything like that. I think sometimes because there's not a lot known about trisomy 18, and there's kind of one type of ideology that is supposed to be portrayed in that, and that is that they're incompatible with life. I don't think that's we live in a time that has lots of lots of resources, right? So if a child, you know, if you break your leg seriously, then you may need to have surgery, right? Or if there is something wrong, you may need to have surgery. And we in society wouldn't blink an eye of saying, oh, you need surgery for this condition or for this thing that's going on, because we just see things like that. Now, 100 years ago, it probably would be different. You know, it'd kind of be like, okay, well, somebody may be able to find you something and like amputate your leg. But overall, there wasn't like medical advances that there are now. And as things become more aware, then we're able to make better medical decisions. It is hard to, and I understand this with my team that I'm working with, is they don't have a lot of data on, hey, if you have this type of child and you try this, this may work. And and that must be very challenging for them, because they don't have the data. Because honestly, a lot of people choose to abort their babies before they're even born because that's the route that they want most people to take. We didn't choose that route. We believe that Azariah's life is precious, and we are going to choose to fight for his life. And yeah, I made that known that day that my little mama bear came out. First, I got really upset, and then this sweet lady, that was across the hall from us that has a little baby, I went into the break room because of course all the bathrooms, you know, like places that you can be private in a hospital, like all the bathrooms were full. So then I have to go into like the lounge area, and I, you know, was crying or whatever. And she's like, you know, they can say whatever they want. You fight for that baby. I know you. You fight for that baby. She's like, only God knows. So true. Only God knows the outcome of Azariah's life. Only God knows if he's going to spend lots of days on earth or if he's going to be embraced by him in heaven. Like, I don't know that. I can love him every day he's here. My husband can love him every day he's here. It is so hard to be away from him. I didn't want to leave his side. I just sat waiting for my husband downstairs because he was going to be coming pretty soon, and we didn't want to have to park the vehicle, come and find me, like that type of stuff. And just sat there crying, knowing that I did not feel well. Enough that I felt like I shouldn't be by him, but yet leaving him was so hard. So every day, I think most people who are in the NICU, let me see if I can turn this light on if it make a difference. Oh yeah, the switch is over there. I don't know if that helped or not. Every day is a challenge. And honestly, it's not the same challenge every day. Like, every day is a new challenge. So one day the heart might be like, we need to focus on heart issues. The next day it might be lung issues. We need to focus on lung issues. The next day, right now, like, he's having some issues with his liver. So it's like he has really high direct bili numbers, which is not the type of bili that does well with lights. And they won't try phototherapy for the direct bili because it's just different, right? So just trying to combat that and figure out that. Those have been like the main highlights. And then just deciding, okay, like, his bili seems to be taking like the forefront right now because it is really high. And we know that children with trisomy 18 usually have higher numbers, but there's no like study saying what those numbers are. And we're obviously assuming that they're not the numbers that he has because his are really high. But as of now, it's not leading to direct liver damage. It's just high numbers. We have talked to hepatology, I hope that I said that right, hepatology over at Boston Children's. And basically the main things that we could work on right now is trying to get him, we've tried a bunch of times to get him to take breast milk. And they were trying to do like 10 cc's or something like that. And he would vomit that all up. And like for hours and hours, he would be vomiting. Oh, poor kid. So 2 things. One is he still has not passed all his meconium. So trying to get him to poop all of that out and trying to get something in his stomach. Getting something in his stomach both of those things can help his belly numbers. Another thing is if we can increase his feeds, then we can decrease the nutrition that he's getting, which can cause higher belly numbers. We're not saying that this is all that's going on, but there's just so many components to why he's high. And then the other thing is if he has more in his stomach as far as like breast milk goes, then that means that he can be, if it's still really high, that they could give him medication in order to try to bring it down, but he can't be on that without having a certain amount of feeds. So we have been working, we actually went even smaller than the 10 mLs, and he's getting like 3 mLs every 3 hours. And he has tolerated it for over 24 hours, which is lovely. I think they're keeping it like that for one more day and see where he's at, because now, another day, something else took the forefront. He has, I can't even remember the name of it. It's like a lot of heartbeats per minute. Begins with a T. Can't remember the name of it. He had that for a couple hours last night, but now it's back down to normal. So they've been just evaluating to make sure that he has no infection or like anything else going on that would be causing that. And most of those things have already come back, and most of those are clear. So what they're trying to do is see if it's directly related to his heart. So he'll have an echocardiogram tomorrow morning. And yeah, it's just one thing every day seems to take the forefront of everything. So that's what's on the forefront today. And we just need to roll with each thing each day and do so knowing that the Lord's in control. Knowing the Lord's in control. We had a meeting on the other day, Friday. We had a meeting on Friday, and the team from the week, which one of the people was one of the people that had made that comment, and they actually apologized. I had made it known quite clearly. My thoughts are this: if my son's gonna die anyway, if there's like two scenarios and my son's gonna die anyway, we're gonna die trying. We're gonna die trying. I understand that that's a probability, right? It's a probability that he goes to be with the Lord. That said, we're gonna die trying. We're gonna try to do what we can do. We're going to give him all the love and all the attention while he's here. We're going to try to treasure all the moments. It's kind of nice though, you know, we've had a lot of nurses over the past couple days that really are like, no, you can hold him. You can hold him. Plus he doesn't have like the jet vent, which makes it a little bit easier. Still lots of wires, and he doesn't have his headgear on currently. They're doing that like sporadically, so maybe like he might have it like 48 hours like once a week, but they don't actually have a schedule, or maybe they do, I don't know. But when he doesn't have his little like I say the octopus on his head, the EEG on, then it's a lot easier to move around in order to like hold and stuff. So usually if both my husband and myself are here, then my husband's always like, oh no, she can hold him. But I guess that is kind of a blessing of like me not being there. He did end up, one day there was a day that he was having a really good day, and I got to hold him in the morning. And then in the afternoon, they're like, do you want to hold him, Dad? And I wasn't in the room, and he was like, yeah. So then he got to hold him for the first time then. He was 2 weeks old. It was like on his 2-week birthday. And so it's nice because me not being there, he doesn't feel like he wants to give it to me, right? Like he wants to let me have all the snuggles with him, you know. I think that's part of a man. We were talking to other people with children in the NICU, and a lot of the dads were saying the same thing, that they want to just be there for the mom and give them as much as they can, and that they would much rather like see their wife holding the baby, because they know like that's where the baby belongs. Even if they want to give that to their wife. And it's really just like a beautiful dedication almost of a husband to a wife. But that said, me not being there, he got to hold him for a while last night, and I'm really happy that he was able to do that. I'm really happy he was able to do that. It's hard not being there, but it is like so wonderful to know that like he is being loved by his dad. Kind of gotta let some of that control go, right? Like I want to just like, I want to try to be there to know everything and whatever. And my husband's been really good. He, you know, when they did rounds this morning, he put me on speaker, had me write with the attendant. And they're really good there too. Like they want that to happen. They encourage, like if you have any questions, they call the nurse, you'll talk to the nurse directly and everything. So it's really wonderful like that. They just discuss some things. They're just trying to figure out what caused last night, what caused the high blood pressure. They're going to do another echo tomorrow just to see where we're at, and probably talk to the cardiologist and see if they're doing the right things that they should be doing, because they kind of take the orders from the cardiologist. So that is our update. I guess that's our life update too, because it's kind of, we have this house until the end of October, and then we will hopefully be renting that other house like an hour away. We've had people come and go. So now I have, oh, I didn't even share. So the other day we brought the kids in to, after she said whatever about him declaring himself, I said, well, let me see if any of the kids want to come. So I also asked if any kids that were up in Maine wanted to come down, and some did. So I said, well, let's just have you guys take a bus down. So they took a bus down like right, and then my husband picked them up from the bus station and then went to the hospital from there. Well, most of the kids had seen the baby. I had a meeting that afternoon, the meeting that the woman who had made that comment, she actually had apologized that she ever made me feel that they were giving up on my son, and I really appreciated that. I really did. She says, you know, it's hard sometimes coming in on something that you haven't been a part of the beginning, and understanding like the parents' wishes and plans. Anyway, back on schedule with that. Kids came in. So they came back a little bit later because of traffic. So I went to go down to give the other kids my debit card so they could go and get something to eat and to visit with them for a couple minutes. So I went to do that, and I got a phone call from my husband, and I was like on my phone trying to pay like a bill for the big van. And so I was talking to the lady, because normally I just go into the office, but it's so far away. So I'm like talking to the lady. So I asked my daughter to call him back. And she said, as soon as I got off the phone paying that bill, she's like, you need to go upstairs. And I was like, oh my goodness, what happened? So I'm trying to, in order to get upstairs, I have to go through security, up, wait for them to get the elevator to go up, because it's very secure. I'm glad it's very secure, but like when you're in a hurry, it's just like, I just want to go. So we get up there, and I go, and I can see like people like around the bedroom door, and I'm like, oh my goodness, my heart just like drops. And I walk in, and I see my baby in the bed, and like nobody's around my baby. And I'm like, okay, like if this is like a big issue. Where is everyone, you know? So I look over there and I'm like, what is going on? Like, it took a minute for my brain to like schedule. And then I realized that my husband and my son were sitting on the couch and my son was crying. And I was like, oh, and he really wanted to come up. It was so sad. I called him the other day and he's like, I wanted to stay home so that I can split wood and the house would be all ready. So if you could come home by Christmas, then it would be all ready. And then I was gonna go to the thrift store and buy all the little kids presents, and then I could buy stuff for the baby. But what if the baby dies before then? Oh my goodness. Break my heart. So therefore, I had that conversation earlier with him. And then I'm thinking, oh, he's really just having an emotional time and needed me. So then I go to sit over there. Well, apparently he went to stand up and, or he was standing up like by the baby's bedside and was like touching him. And then my husband said that he said, Dad, and my husband turned and he was like almost at the floor. He's like, I just didn't have enough time. He said whatever and he was already down. Like my husband tried to catch him but couldn't catch him, and he smashed his head on the floor. So he passed out. So the staff at Brigham and Women's are really good. They already had him like drinking like juice and crackers and like whatever. Oh my goodness. So they said that he had to be seen, but Brigham and Women's does not see young adults, or doesn't see children. So he had to be transferred over to children. So first we had to go to Brigham and Women's ER, and then we had to go from there. They transferred him over to Children's, which they were awesome. The doctor over at Children's was awesome. He's like, hey dude, whatever, just like so nice. Did an EEG, no, sorry, EKG. Did an EKG on him and also tested his blood sugar, and both were okay, and just kind of explained that, yeah, we really need to be cautious about what we eat and drink and how much we do. So he had eaten, I had not known this, he was with some older children, and I didn't think that it was going to be an issue. He ate at 6 in the morning and then had a granola bar and didn't want to drink because he was afraid he'd have to go to the bathroom on the bus. So yeah, this is like 3:30 in the afternoon, probably like 4 in the afternoon, and he hadn't really eaten or drinking much. And then all those emotions, goodness. And anyway, that was our drama. He turned out to be okay. He told us to just check for signs of a concussion and whatever. Yeah, and if there's any other issues that we could come back to Children's, because they understood that we were traveling and stuff as well. So that was that. In case we didn't have enough drama. But he's feeling good now. Later that night, my husband and my son went back to, came back to the Cape, and then like, that was like, I don't know, that was the night before like I started feeling sick. So I was like, oh, especially like being in the ER, I was like, I don't know. But now I'm here, and there's been some little kids that haven't felt well to their tummy. So I have to make sure that I'm really healthy before I go back, because we don't want him to get anything. I thought I was saying something else. Housing, that type of stuff. We're here till the 31st, looking to get the house in New Hampshire after that, and then going from there. Not quite sure what that's all going to look like. Haven't got that far ahead in my brain, just kind of like scattered somewhere out there. Normally, it's usually just trying to figure out day to day. And sometimes the day to day is, I don't want to eat hospital food. Okay, what am I eating? Yeah, it's really hard when you're not used to eating like processed foods to eat them all the time. But I am thankful, so thankful that we're in this position, because it means that little mister is alive. So I hope y'all have a blessed and wonderful day. And that was a very rambly update video for you guys. I know you guys have asked. I've just tried. I had a really hard time getting over, honestly, the day after, or the day that she said that to me, as far as it just seemed like she was giving up. It seemed like the team had just given up. And then the following day was like totally different. I spoke to the social worker about it and a couple other people, and they were like, yeah, we need to talk to other people, because that's not how you should be feeling. And that's really not like how and where that should be said. So anyhow, my whole thing is if this is what the whole team feels like, there should probably be a meeting with everybody together saying this is what the whole team feels. But I don't get that impression from everyone, so yeah. Anyway, everyone got to see the baby except one of my daughters who doesn't want to, but that's okay. She's grown up. She can do what she wants. I think sometimes some people don't want to get close to something, thinking that it won't hurt so bad if it disappears. And that's how some people cope. Although it actually makes it worse in the end, unfortunately, most of the time. But grown people need to make their own grown decisions. So that is that. I hope you all have a wonderful day.